Welcome to Align Your Practice, an exploration of the seamless relationship between the business of chiropractic and the future of natural health care. Join us as we engage with an array of talent, from seasoned experts to passionate new entrepreneurs. Now, here's your host, Dr. Joe Esposito.
Hello, welcome to the Align Your Practice podcast. This is Dr. Joe Esposito. I have a guest today, Traci Fisher. How are you, Traci?
I am great. How are you doing?
Awesome. I'm excited for today's podcast. We're going to dive into a little bit of mindset, a little bit of victimhood that we deal with in business that transcends into our personal life or vice versa, and affecting our ability to create the outcome we're looking for, whether it be relationships, business, productivity, team building. It transcends everything. So let's talk a little about you first. We're excited because you're coming to our national convention next month. So everyone's lit up for your talk. And let's just tell the audience. Yeah, no, I'm glad. I'm so excited for it. Let's tell the audience, give us a 1 minute about your background, and then we'll dive in deep.
Yeah. So a quick background is that I left the military. I was a helicopter pilot and got right into fitness. And from there, I worked with quite a few executives here in the Cleveland area and have a company where we would create systems probably very similar to what you all do in terms of knowing exactly how you can help people. And then I became frustrated because even if we had the solution, it didn't necessarily mean that people were following through. So that's when I went back to school and focused in on the mindset piece and focus and discipline and how do we get ourselves intrinsically motivated. And so now my work is about combining both physical wellness and mental and emotional well-being. So my registered trademark is well-beingness, which is basically healthy and happy, using our minds and our emotions and our actions to feel good and to do good.
Awesome. Your mind, emotions, and your actions. That's awesome.
Yep.
So what I see in practice and in supporting many different clinics and numerous different companies is that we could provide our same exact system in the same exact city with the same exact training and get two different outcomes. So that makes you think, is it how much effect of it, even if the owner is not the only doctor, that there's other doctors. So it can't be, I'm not good enough, I'm not good looking enough, I'm not smart enough, because there's practitioners in your office that are actually seeing the people. So we always want to blame that we're not good enough. But really what I think the mindset of that the head, the chief of the organization transcends to the whole team. So it could be a victim mindset. It could be, so many different aspects. But let's start there. These are small businesses. Someone has a bad mood, the whole team becomes a bad mood. The productivity goes 50% reduction. So it's really sensitive. So I know you're going to go deep on this at the Revolution, which I'm excited about, but let's give a little bit of practicality. How do I control my mindset? How important is it? How do I become aware of it? Any insights from your perspective?
Yeah, so I'll start off by sharing with you that I am simple-minded. So I like to do everything in threes so that I can remember it and so that executives and people can remember it in the craziness and the chaos of life. So the first three sets, or the three that I will give you, is discover, design, dare. And that's basically the methodology. Now, I took the trans-theoretical model of change and condensed it into threes. And the idea is literally what you just said, discovery. I have to be aware, I have to be self-aware, socially aware that there is an issue before I can do anything about it. And so then the second piece is, how do we design once we're aware of something? And then the third piece, dare, is what I think is the most difficult. And that's daring to practice whatever it is that you have designed. So using your example, if you have a leader who is listening in and says, you know what, I think that I may be bringing down the office a little bit. Maybe it takes me a while to wake up and I'm a little negative. They've just discovered that. So it takes a lot of courage to own up to that. So that's the first step. And then let's say the designing piece would be, all right, so when I come in the office, what I'm going to do is, go into the bathroom and look at myself and say until I believe it, listen, I set the tone for this office. I am compassionate. I'm courageous. We're going to be great today. And create that design. That's your protocol. And then the third piece is to dare to do it. All right, am I really going to go in the bathroom and do that every single day? What about when there's a patient that's early? What about, if there's something I have to solve? So all three of those together is the overarching view of how we look at how you change your mindset. Now, there's lots of details and tools underneath that, but that's the big methodology that we use.
I love that, because my mojo most of the time is all about self-awareness to raise consciousness. So I love that's so simple. Discover, design, and dare. I think we could all use that tomorrow. So great nugget for us. Thank you. And I know you got more coming at the Revolution, but that's a good teaser for us.
Yeah, great.
Well, let me go off the cuff a little, because yesterday I was talking with someone and they apologized about something. And I said, you know what? I really don't, that it happened 2 or 3 times. So I really don't need, or just respectfully, the apology makes you feel good about the action and it puts it at rest to you. But I would just prefer you be aware of it, the behavior, so that you just have awareness, because a good hearted person, like most humans, when they're aware, they want to do good, most humans on the planet. So I think awareness is even more important than just making people feel good that, oh, I'm sorry I did that. Or I don't know. Am I going off on a tangent too much there? Or is there like some lesson there of like, maybe hold in and gain the awareness before we just say, oh, sorry I did that to you. Sorry I did this. Sorry I'm late. Sorry I'm late 50 times. Like, no, you know what? Have awareness of why. Like me, my issue is being late. So I'll say I'm sorry instead of sitting back and saying, what's my behavior that I have to change, right? I mean, that's kind of neat the way you design that.
Yes. And it's interesting. I wanted to rewind a little bit. I heard you say it's simple. And that's one of the things that we're going to emphasize at Revolution is that these concepts are not super complicated, but just because it's simple doesn't mean that it's easy because of what you're talking about there. If someone automatically is saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, that's their action. It's something that they're saying. It's a behavior. And so they at some point have been taught that if they say they're sorry, that that's good enough. And so what we do, and it's also very similar to the work that you do, is that's a symptom cover up, right? It's like putting a Band-Aid on the issue. What you're saying is let's get to the root cause, the structure of why they are behaving that way. And so that goes back to mindset and emotions. Are they just trying to make themselves feel good? Is that what they've learned that they're supposed to do? And why are they acting in that way? So the roots underneath that behavior is what's really important. Just like what you guys get to the root of why somebody is in pain. That's the part that we want to focus on.
That's interesting. And those of you listening, if you're a business owner, which I know most all of you are, have you ever gone to your office meeting and went over your KPIs and everyone is telling stories about, new patients are down, but it snowed all week and the president said X on TV. So of course it's going to get, the next person says, yeah, our referrals are down. Well, it was, and it's like, and all of this rationality helps all of us feel good about our lack of productivity, that we're bathing in mediocrity and we're comfortable because we have stories. So the two things is, what I learned in the last 2 years to mature the team is to go to your behavior and go to creativity and realize we all know you're brilliant. Everyone in this room knows you're brilliant. Let's start that as a table stakes. You're not on this team unless you're brilliant. So that's why you're here. So don't rationalize. Don't feel you got to protect yourself. Learn how to bring creativity and learn how to dissect your own behavior so that you can help yourself be a better player on this team. And it took about 2 years, but I got to a meeting where everyone is in this creative space. But one thing I learned, and I'm sure you can talk about this, but I learned to give grace on the journey, because creating awareness, like you said, is pretty simple. Just be aware. it took me 2 years to get out of victimhood in the team, probably because I brought victimhood to them. But it was a 2-year process. So what are your thoughts on these business owners? Like, it takes some time, right? And you got to have grace through it, but just keep.
Boy, we are like totally on the same wavelength here. It's so interesting. It's like I planted you the questions to ask. The first piece that you're talking about is storytelling, right? How do we tell our stories? I love what you said. We're bathing in mediocrity, right? So we're going to give 6 steps to learn how you are telling your story. And it's not just how you're telling your story, it's how you're managing mind, how you're managing your emotions, how you're managing your actions. Are you specific about the results that you're creating? Is it based in values and in vision? And there's a way to stack all of that so that you can be creative, not just about your physical behavior and how we're solving issues, but also get creative about the way that we're thinking and getting out of what we call system 1 thinking, which is our automated thinking, and get into system 2 thinking, which is critical. And again, that takes courage to do that. And it takes courage to back up and say, all right, this is the way that I've been thinking. This is the way that I've been approaching things. And it's not working, or it's not working as well as I want to, because you clearly have an amazing product. It's brilliant. And if it's not working, then that's an opportunity to say, okay, how are we thinking? What are the stories that we're telling? What are we rationalizing? It's perfect. And we're going to totally talk about all of that.
That's so exciting. And I think giving that praise to the team of setting the table of the people on the team, that there's no need to validate, because it's amazing when you have a great team. Sometimes 3 people are going to back the one person's victimhood and their rationale and we're all protecting because we love them. Meanwhile, they don't need protection because stagnation of them growing as a human hurts them. So holding them to their number, holding them to their outcome, and helping them get to the story. I always say story and behavior. What's the story? What's a new behavior? So what's the story you're telling yourself? Put it on the table and decide if it still serves you. If it doesn't serve you or your job post, then decide, you know what? I used to think this, but that story no longer serves me. Not that it didn't. It probably did when you had less knowledge. It probably did. It was okay. It was great, but it doesn't serve you now. Right. So it was totally useful back then, last week or whenever, but not now. So I think those 2 things, if we can get stories and behavior awareness, I don't think we have to go through the painful transition of staff over staff. They didn't work out. They weren't good enough. They weren't, you know what? I think you should hire slow, fire fast. But I think what you're teaching can help us bring the genius out of our people versus having to transition all the time.
Yes. Yes. And here, the interesting thing about what you said is dissecting the behavior. That's part of those 6 steps, and understanding, and I didn't make this up, it's cognitive behavior theory, how your thoughts influence your emotions and how they influence your actions. And so if you are not acting in alignment with your values and you know it, dissecting why that is occurring is the process that we're going through. And we're going to give a step-by-step process. And the really cool thing about it is that, and I don't say I'm holding you're accountable. I hold people capable. And I think that's what you're referencing. Like,
Ooh,
I
I
hold
love
you.
that.
Yes. Yeah. And so
That's
how, yep, we hold you capable. And so we're not going to let you tell that old story anymore. And literally, we're going to go through how you take these unconscious or conscious, and we don't know how to get out of them, stories, and make them conscious and alignment with values. And when the whole team is doing that and understanding that, oh, we all are evolving, we're all evolving all the time, we're all learning. And when they're doing it together, then there's this immense, it gives me chills, this immense psychological safety. And now we're just pointing out, hey, what are you thinking when you're doing that? And it's not judgmental. It is, I'm holding you capable. So powerful in a team. So powerful.
You know, I'm thinking of an analogy for that with teams, of like getting the most value out of your team. And I remember pushing a cart at the grocery store and one wheel was stuck, and it was like, I got to get a new cart. And the person I was with said, no, just roll it back. There's something caught in the wheel. I roll it back, the thing falls out and the cart works perfectly. So some of our staff have the story they need your help with. And like, you could say, give me a new staff, or you could say, hold them capable. So I think that transcends into leadership of how do we lead people? And I know this is more along your genius is how do we become the best leaders? And I always love the mindset of saying, you said capable, not accountable. I like direct supports, not direct reports. Like I'm their direct support. My job is to de-hassle you. I love that phrase. It's like, because we know you're a genius. Isn't that great? It's like, we're just going to support and de-hassle you. Just love it.
I love that. Yeah. And the interesting thing about all of this work, when we're talking about the framework and thinking about the way that you're thinking and metacognition and having this awareness, is that when we are doing that, the literal act of having metacognition and looking around is also you using a different part of your brain. And when you're doing that, we're tapping into the higher aspect of you and consciousness and curiosity and all of those positive emotions, very different than being judgmental. So, and the way that links to leadership is that if we are doing that individually, if we are really aware of our own mindsets and our own stories that we're telling, there is no way that you cannot influence the people around you. Circling back to what you said at the very beginning. And we also will review a relationship diagram, which is really simple. And at the center of that relationship are private relationships. It's the relationship that you have with yourself, how you're thinking, and maybe with a higher power, how you're feeling, all the chatter that goes on in your brain, the things that you're doing when nobody is looking. That is the core of self-leadership, which then impacts leadership in your family, your personal relationships, and then leadership in your professional life or in your community. Self-leadership is at the core of all of that.
That's awesome. Well, I'm excited for the event. We're going to see you in April. Those of you who are not part of the event yet, just reach out, attendrevolution.com. It's going to be an epic event this year. We're really excited. It's going to be all about values, creating value. And Traci, your mindset at your talk, I know is going to be about their personal values, business values, mindset, some victimhood, all these things we're talking about to really help the team, putting aside systems, putting aside training just for a little bit and really get into our minds and the way we operate to make us, like you said, simple things that aren't easy, but they're simple that can help us not double or triple, but potentially quadruple or 10x our ability to perform our potential, which is, raising consciousness. So I love it. Any final takeaways? We'll close up for today.
It's interesting as you were saying that, it made me think of I think Dolly is one who said this, that simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. So we're going to play around in that simplicity, and there would just be so much that comes out of that, and so much connection and camaraderie and team building. I think it's just going to be fantastic.
Awesome. Excellent. Thanks, Traci. We look forward to having you on again and keep breaking down these self-leadership is what I want to spend time with you next time talking about. Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you. Take care.
This episode was brought to you by Align Life Chiropractic and Natural Health Centers. If you're interested in creating your dream practice or want to know more about Align Life, go to alignlifepodcast.com.